All right, so this is going to be a quick walkthrough. What we're going to do is we are going to see how we can clean up our VPC configuration for a new control tower environment. If you haven't seen it yet, I do have a walkthrough of how to initialize control tower. You can see that here with the video being displayed in the play card. But what we're going to do here is after control tower has been stood up, we are going to see how we can configure the control tower settings so that no new VPCs get deployed when you vend a new account. This is very important to keep track of. It's a very small configuration change, but it is necessary. Out in the wild, when you're building these accounts, you don't want to have extra VPCs that are not interconnected with your networking standards, your networking configuration for the organization. You want to make sure that any stragglers are deleted, removed, so you don't have potential issues of users, using networks that are not being inspected, not being audited, not using CEDAR ranges you're tracking, etc. So right now on the screen that I'm showing here, I'm actually logged into my SSO console for this control tower environment. So I can see all three of my accounts from the control tower landing zone, the workshop, which is the name of the master account or management account for this organization, the log archive account where the logs are being stored, and the audit account for aggregating alerts. Now real quick, what I am going to show is that if you are to go into, let's say, the audit account, and we navigate to the VPC page, we will see that there actually are no VPCs created in the audit account. And I'll also go to the US West Oregon region, which is the second region I use for my control tower environment, and you'll see there was no VPC created here. This is going to be a similar thing we should see in the log archive account, where no new VPCs were created because these are very purposed accounts for what they need. So we're not going to see VPCs created in the two regions that control tower was stood up in and governing for the log archive account or the audit account. However, when we go inside the master account, our workshop account, we are going to see VPCs, but those are the VPCs that come with a new AWS account when you create one. So if I go to my VPCs, we will see that even after the control tower vending, we still have our default VPCs in our management account. Now, we're not going to go through and delete all of these in this one account, but it is something to bear in mind from a steps to do after you stand up control tower, is that you go through your management account and delete all of these default VPCs in all of the supported regions for your account, for all the enabled regions, because any one of these regions in the management account is going to have some kind of default VPC that you have to deal with and delete, as we can see here in the Mumbai region. Even though we're not using it, because we created the account, all the enabled regions have a default VPC. So you want to go through, I'll show a quick one here, check off your VPC, go to the actions, go to delete VPC, and then we just want to acknowledge that we're going to delete it. And then we type in here, delete default VPC, and we'll go ahead and delete everything in that VPC. Now, this is quick to do manually. There are automated ways to handle this using API calls, using AWS Boto 3 to be able to automate these kind of calls and delete these VPCs across your account. But since it's just the management account, you could also quickly go through this manually and maybe have some audit checks to make sure no new default VPCs are created. So with that, since we're in the management account already, I'm going to navigate to my US East region. And I'm going to go to the control tower console. Now, from my last walkthrough video with control tower stand up, it is key that you are in the region that is the home region for control tower, because this is where you can actually do your configuration settings changes for control tower itself. So now that we're in North Virginia, we go to our control tower region. We're here on our control tower service. We're here on our dashboard. And all we got to do is we're going to go into account factory here on the top left. And under network configuration, we're going to click on edit. Now there's two options for taking care of this, but we're going to do the simplest one, which is if you look for regions for VPC creation, all we have to do is uncheck these boxes. And then when we save it, no matter what accounts we vend through the lifecyclist control tower environment, none of these regions will get a custom control tower VPC deployed. No VPCs will exist. The default VPCs will also not exist. They're not going to be created. They're not going to exist. So it's going to be a clean, no VPCs are there for deployment. Now, you should still perform some kind of auditing for those VPCs, so you can delete those over time. But this is how you can make sure that your account comes up clean without any VPCs. Okay. Now, as you can see here, we have a lot of gray boxes for these other regions that are not having VPC creation. This is because when we stood up the control tower landing zone, which we talk about in my other walkthrough video, that we set up only the east and west regions to be used for governance of control tower. So control tower is governing these two regions, and we denied any other regions that were not governing for use. So because we have that setting enabled, all the other regions that are not the US East or the US West Oregon regions are not available to us to even create VPCs in. So that it helps, reducing that attack surface. It helps with ensuring that you are not going to have to worry about things being created in those regions unnecessarily when you vend a new account, to kind of provide that peace of mind. So we're going to hit save here, and we see that we have a success, and that's it. That's all you have to do to ensure that when you vend new accounts, you are not getting miscellaneous VPCs being created that could have internet gateways and access that users could potentially misuse and cause issues inside your environments. So with that, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, complaints, do leave them below, and we'll see you next time.